Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Saka here, and welcome to another Saka Speaks On video. And this particular video, we will be looking at 2019 as a whole, because Happy New Year, it's 2020. Let's reflect on what my channel did in the last year, the growth that we've seen, and the videos that we've done, and see if we can get some nostalgia going. So in January, we were doing several different series. The first was Motorsport Manager. In January 1st, 2019, I posted episode 100 of Motorsport Manager. We were also doing American Truck Special Transport DLC. We were doing Hearts of Iron 3, Iraq, and we were also doing Surviving Mars. So that was an interesting simulation type playlist that I had going on back then, trying to capitalize on the success that Hearts of Iron 4 Iraq had with Hearts of Iron 3. The Special Transport DLC was brand new to American Truck Sim. Surviving Mars, I just wanted to play Surviving Mars a bit. And of course, Motorsport Manager was a mainstay for many years leading up to episode 100. And it was a big episode. We were still in the GT class series, trying for our first GT championship. Going along with the Hearts of Iron 3 theme and real-time strategy or grand strategy, we are also doing Europa Universalis 4 for absolute beginners. It was the save game transfer from Crusader Kings 2, and we were about 30 episodes in at the start of 2019, taking over Europe. As we move on to February, of course, February is the start of the NASCAR season, and myself and Brandon picked up the 2019 mod in NASCAR Racing 2003 and started racing at Daytona, both in the Clash and the Daytona 500. And we also finished up the second race of the season in February, going for our third consecutive championship. Also, at the end of February, we began the Civilization 6 Gathering Storm DLC with the Zulu. I picked a random ruler, didn't pick Zulu from the get-go, randomly chose Shaka Zulu as our leader, and we began looking at the Gathering Storm DLC, and actually put a city pretty close to a volcano, which may have not been good in hindsight, but, you know, it's Gathering Storm, what can you do? Also in February, I did a Saka Speaks on Imperator Rome, because Imperator Rome was due to come out in March but was pushed back. In hindsight, it needed to be pushed back just a little bit more, but we'll get to that when the series comes up. Some foreshadowing for you. But I did a Saka Speaks on Imperator Rome, and I looked at my last save game in Farming Sim 2017. I got all of my equipment together and just basically said thank you and goodbye to a game that I didn't play on my channel, but a game that I played a lot in my spare time and really, really enjoyed. In March, we continued on with Civ 6, NASCAR, Motorsport Manager, and Surviving Mars, but at the very, very end, I took a look at Elder Scrolls Blades. And if you remember Elder Scrolls Blades or have played it yourself, you would know that back on release day, I'm not sure exactly what it was now, but on that initial rollout, it was a wait timer infested, pay-to-win sort of mobile game that wasn't really fun to begin with. I just took a quick look at it because I'm sure people would be interested in seeing some gameplay from it, but news pundits and video game channels quickly ripped it to shreds, and we never looked at it again. In April, I finished up Hearts of Iron 3 Iraq. The game crashed on me whenever, I believe it was Poland was re-liberated. The Soviets were making the push from the east, moving to the west, pushing into Poland, and as soon as Poland got re-liberated, the game would always crash, and I couldn't get past that point, so we called it an episode there. I also recorded the channel trailer, the Why Do I Do YouTube video, and this is when I reached out to B000100, the Minecraft creator extraordinaire who is on Hermitcraft, and he agreed to take a few people under his wing as a YouTube or Twitch stream tutor, and I was one of the lucky chosen because of that video. So not really a hard-hitting video for my channel, but definitely an important one for me to grow as a creator, to put something out there that would really resonate with a creator like B000100. I also did a one-off where I raced stock cars at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. I called it Unleashing My Inner Jimmy Broadbent, to sort of expand and see, NASCAR had an off weekend that weekend for Easter, I believe it was. So I wanted to fill that week with some racing content, and it was seen 24 times, not terrible. And that's as of now, January 1st, 2020. It's been seen 24 times over the past, 8 months. So not really the biggest video on my channel by any stretch of the imagination. Didn't really catch fire when I posted it, but it was fun to wheel those 3,600-pound stock cars around the Nordschleife for sure. Also, at the end of April, the fateful 1.0 release of Imperator Rome came out. I personally liked the game, but I agreed with the sentiments that we were past the mana system and naval combat wasn't engaging because there was only one naval unit, and buildings were not that engaging. There was only 4 types you could build in any one type, and moving pops was easy. If you wanted to just elevate a pop, you had to wait on your mana. And I'm glad to see that Imperator Rome moved past 1.0 for sure. I might be bringing a new Imperator Rome playthrough on my channel, at least taking a look at what the new updates have offered in the past. I believe we are on Cicero, or I think we're on Cicero. But the updates that the game has made since April have been huge, and it changed the way the game works. It changed the way wars are fought, having to bring food with you and supply trains and all that good stuff. It adds an interesting element to it that I would like to get into in a little bit more detail. So look for that coming soon. But we started off playing as Sparta in Imperator Rome, and while I enjoyed it, people weren't connecting with it. Unfortunately, it was a big release, and it just fell off a cliff. So it's worth going back to for sure. But now that the game is decent or completely changed in a way that is unique, it's worth looking into again. In May, we continued with the standard playlist that I had. I had a few unique videos where I announced that B00 was my YouTube tutor. I was so proud that the growth that I saw during that time, it just inspired me to, not that he needs a shout out by any stretch of the imagination, but just to say thank you in a video form for elevating my channel up even higher than what it was. And we also were contacted by a developer who released Reventure. It's an 8-bit side-scrolling, I would say not a choose-your-own adventure, but a 100 different ways to lose the game adventure. And it was an interesting concept for sure. I just did one video on it. I saw about 20 different endings, 15 to 20 different endings. But it was a cool game, and it was very cool to be reached out to and given a Steam code for. And it's the first Steam code that I received from a developer for gameplay on my channel, which was huge for me as a channel for sure, to be reached out to and just given a chance. Also, at the end of May, Kingdom Come Deliverance released their last DLC, A Woman's Lot, and on the very last day of May, I posted episode 1 of Kingdom Come Deliverance, A Woman's Lot, and I love that RPG. It's really, really fun, and I was excited to get into it and to play it for sure. Being an early backer and getting it, that's just gravy. But I really enjoyed that playthrough, and we began that series, and little did I know that DLC would provide a highlight reel of one particular episode in which it took me forever to get those 20 minutes or 30 minutes of footage. It was probably recording for 3 hours, just redoing the whole escape mission with Teresa, and that was nuts. That was nuts for sure. But June was going to be a big month for us. In June, Kerbal Space Program released their Breaking Ground DLC, which I got into and started a brand new save, brand new career mode, going after the science. And during that series, I experimented with a new intro from episodes 2 through the finale, in which I would do a Kerbal News segment and, talk about what happened the episode before in a really cool way. And once again, I have to thank BOO for allowing me to stretch my creative legs. I wouldn't have thought of doing that, but just the conversations that we were having really inspired me to do something unique. And I think that paid dividends. And people really enjoyed that little segment that I did at the start of each episode. But I really enjoyed breaking ground. It was good to get back into Kerbal Space Program again, go to some planets that I haven't visited, and do some science experiments that I haven't done. And Kerbal is all about discovery and doing unique and new things, and we definitely did that with breaking ground. Also at the end of June, American Truck Simulator released their Washington DLC, and because I lived in Washington for a few years, I was pretty excited to see how they did the Tacoma and Seattle area. So we went to Tacoma for our very first American Truck Simulator Washington DLC video, and we continued on that playlist through seeing every city in Washington. As we do with American Truck Sim, we always take a look at each city, or at least drive by each city and take a look around, and Washington did not disappoint. I was pretty happy to see Washington in American Truck Sim. In July, we continued on with American Truck Kingdom Come Deliverance, A Woman's Lot. We actually got the finale in July, so we played that for about a month, and then we started a new, well, I wouldn't say we started a new series, but we took a look at a new game, Tech Corp, which I received from the developer, a Steam key from the developer. So again, reaching out to these developers and getting a key, it was an interesting sort of tycoon type game, startup tycoon or video game maker tycoon or whatever, where you start in a room and you develop over the course of years, expand your technology, and it was a cool idea. I'm interested to see where it ends up in its 1.0 release, but we took a look at that in July. In August, I got to sit down with my best friend Brandon, who I race with on Thursdays, and participate in the WreckingandRacing.com podcast, which they do every week during the season, every other week in the off season to cover news and highlights and talk about the races from each week. And it was cool to sit down and do an episode with him, and I recorded a video from our session there, so people who listen to the podcast would be able to see, us in action essentially. And I also began the Dungeons and Dragons for Absolute Beginners series in August, talking about exactly what is D&D. And in later months, I would go on to describe each class and race, how to build a character, and I wouldn't call that series done, but shifted for now. Looking at some creatures and some things like that. I really got into D&D around this time period, really getting back into 5th edition. I was a fan of 4th. I liked the sort of way it played, but I fell out of, grace from D&D until I really started watching The Ox Venture. And in August, that really inspired me to get the 5th edition core books and teach you how to play D&D, or what a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition session would look like. So I was really happy and excited to get started on that. In September, we continued on with the Kerbal playthrough, the Motorsport Manager playthrough, of course, racing each and every Thursday. But then NASCAR Heat 4 came out, and I hadn't purchased NASCAR Heat for a very long time, since 2000. Like, the very first NASCAR Heat was the only Heat that I bought, but a lot of positive reviews were coming in for NASCAR Heat 4. So I took the plunge and got it for PC, and I did a comparison video of NASCAR Heat 4 versus NASCAR Racing 2003 season, which I race consistently each and every Thursday. So a really cool comparison video. It gets me out of my usual style and more of an informative sort of video, which I really enjoyed doing, comparing and contrasting the two. I was really happy with how that one turned out, and I think it was a good informative baseline. So if you were wanting to get into NASCAR racing, get a NASCAR game, you have a PC and you don't have either game, I think it would better highlight what your approach is as far as which of the two games to purchase. I was really happy with that one. In October, we continued on with our NASCAR racing and D&D classes. We also finished up the Kerbal Space Program Breaking Ground DLC. Nice finale. We maxed out the science tree and unlocked every tech possible. And I also did a few one-off videos that highlighted some upcoming games. Crusader Kings 3 trailer was shown, and I talked about that. We also did a video on the Wendy's RPG, the system that was kind of based in D&D. If you are a player of Dungeons & Dragons, the Wendy's RPG system felt very cool, but we looked at, is it any good? Highlighted the player's handbook and manual and took a look at the character sheet and basically did a combat run using a monster from their system. Pretty cool stuff, and actually did better than I expected, so I was happy to see that people were interested in that kind of content. Kerbal Space Program became huge again with 1.8 more boosters, and I didn't do a series that incorporated all those boosters in, but we did take a look at what boosters were included. I strapped them all to one big rocket and shot it straight up into the air, and people, they hopefully from that video they got an idea of what those boosters look like and what they could do, but it didn't warrant a new series. I just got done with Breaking Ground DLC. It didn't make sense to start a new one just because of some boosters, and I rarely use boosters anyway, so it was cool to see new content, new free update 1.8 for Kerbal Space Program. Very cool indeed. Goes along with their Kerbal Space Program 2 announcement, which I looked at the trailer, and that was probably the biggest video in 24 hours that I had this year for sure. Just in an hour or two, it got like 300 or 400 views, and like that is unheard of. A video rarely reaches those numbers over its life cycle on my channel. So it was really cool to see a video do well right from the get-go. Thanks, Kerbal Space Program. November was huge as well. Planet Zoo came out, and my episode 1 with the Indian peafowl did very, very well. And thank you for those of you who still tune into that video to this day. I just got a comment on it just yesterday. So even a few months down the way, it's getting put in people's suggested feeds, and that's really cool that people are clicking on and interacting and making that video very successful. We also finished up the season of NASCAR Racing 2003 season, and spoiler alert, Brandon became the first, won his first championship. Since we've been doing this for 3 years, I won the first 2, and Brandon took last year's Sprint Cup, or Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, or NASCAR Cup, I guess, this year. But look for NASCAR 2020 to start in February, just next month, right around the corner. Hopefully the car set will be out, and we can do a 2020 scheme right from Daytona, and we'll, of course, follow the schedule. The proposed schedule changes this year. Daytona won't be the midpoint anymore. We'll have 2 races in a weekend in Pocono. Luckily, we can get those out of the way. I'm not a fan of Pocono. And we'll end the season in Phoenix rather than Miami. So that will be an interesting change for this season coming up. But I hope if you're a racing fan, you'll tune in weekly to catch those. Once again, they will be done on the Thursday before the actual event. Also in November, just a few months after Washington, Utah was released. So we started in Ogden, Utah, and just made our way around all the cities that SCS put in the Utah DLC. The next American truck you'll see from me is Idaho. So they put in the Great Potato State, and look forward to that in the coming year for sure. Really enjoying American trucks still to this day, and really excited to see what's in Idaho. I'm not familiar with the state as a whole, so it'll be interesting to see these sites for the very first time. And that brings us to last month, December. Myself and Brandon actually sit down for a few sessions of D&D together in Tabletop Sim and played that a bit. I continued Planet Zoo. We also finished up the Utah DLC. And so now, as we sit, Planet Zoo is weekly still. And I'm thinking about an Imperator Rome brand new series. And then come next month in February, of course, Daytona will kick us off for the NASCAR racing season. So let's look at the channel itself and see all of you, what you've done to help me. And if you've tuned in and watched this so far and you're a subscriber, please know how much it means to me. This year was huge as far as the channel itself and the numbers and all of that. But once again, I'm just happy that you all are tuning in, watching my stuff, commenting, liking, hopefully sharing, and letting people know that I'm out there. It's the road to 1,000 is my goal for the near future. I believe we're at 960-ish now, something like that. So not that far away, and 1,000 subs was so far out of the reach. When I first started, I remember doing my 25 sub video, which you can still find on my channel. And I did a 50 sub video, 100 sub video, a 250 sub video, and those seem like so far away. But to know that we're at 960 and hopefully climbing, it means a lot. Thank you so much. Before we begin, what do you think of the last year my top 5 viewed videos are? It's actually very surprising to me, but let's go through them and see what you all thought my best content was. So my most popular video of 2019, how to install NASCAR Racing 2003, the 2018 mod. So a video from June 3rd, 2018 was my highest performing video of 2019. Surprising indeed. But it's short, it addresses an issue that people were looking to solve. Very cool stuff. Video number 2, drum roll please, Planet Zoo Sandbox Episode 1. So a video that was only put out a month ago was my second highest video of 2019. Crazy stuff, the amount of support that video has gotten. If you're a Planet Zoo fan, thank you for tuning in. It means a lot for sure. It's cool to see people still comment on that video, or any comment really, but especially that one. It means that video is reaching out to people, and people are interested, and that is the coolest part. Video number 3, Lego Worlds Sandbox Mode. That's an interesting one. I don't know why Lego Worlds is as popular as it is, at least for my channel. Maybe because it was viewed so heavily in 2018 that it's still being put out in 2019, but that video is from May of 2017. So a video that I put out 2 years ago is my third most popular video of the past year. I guess people are interested to see exactly if they bought the game, what do they get in sandbox mode. Once again, it's a quick video. It addresses what is in a certain thing, and it makes me realize that people like sandbox modes. Planet Zoo Sandbox was huge. Lego World Sandbox mode is huge. It's that creative element to just get in and make whatever you want to make, and that's really cool. The fourth most watched or most viewed video is, a drum roll please, my bread and butter, the numero uno, Hearts of Iron 4 Fascist Iraq Episode 1 from 2016. So this video, I wouldn't say put me on the map, or wouldn't say gave a boost to my channel, but it's my most viewed video of all time. And still, to this day, it hits hard. Even though Hearts of Iron 4 has been patched beyond that gameplay for sure. If I got in Hearts of Iron 4 now, I would be completely clueless as to what's going on for the first few episodes for sure, because it, like Imperial to Rome, Paradox has changed that game beyond its release for sure. But still, people tuning in, and it's crazy. So if you're a Hearts of Iron 4 fan, let me know. I might take a look at Hearts of Iron 4 again. It'd be an interesting thing to go back and see how gameplay would change from version 1.0 to whatever version they're on now. But, you know, still really, really cool. And my fifth highest viewed video of 2019 is Kerbal Space Program 1.8 More Boosters. Once again, it's a quick video. It addresses what comes in the pack, and people can see it and go about their business. I don't know. I could find out. But off the top of my head, I don't know how many people subbed just because of that Kerbal Space Program 1.8 video, or how many people just tuned in, saw what they wanted to see, and left. That's one of the things that my YouTube tutor had spoken to me about, is the videos that I make that are big like that, you know, if people sub to that, they're expecting more of that. And it's tough because I just wanted to highlight what was in that pack, but I wasn't going to do a playthrough. So all of the eyes focused on me for 1.8, and then I didn't do anything with it after the fact. And this is where the whole business thing comes into play, and thinking about growing a channel from being small potatoes like I am. Certainly 1,000 subs isn't something to sneeze at, and it's huge. It's a milestone that I would really like to achieve, and with your help, I can. But you know, it's something that I still play. I still play games for fun. I still put videos on YouTube for fun. It's because I'm playing these games and I want them to be seen. I want to share the experience with you, all the mistakes I make and the struggles and the highlights and all the fun that I have with these games. I want to share with you for sure. So, you know, it's been an interesting year. Overall, subscriber count, people will tell you that subscribers don't matter, but in order for me to get where I would like to go, subscribers are pretty important, because YouTube has that threshold, that 1,000 subscriber threshold. Once you cross that, they won't say it, but I think you're pushed out more. Like, I think you're treated like, okay, now you're worth something to YouTube, and we will push out your content more. It would just be a huge milestone for me. But it is extremely possible. The last few months have been huge with Planet Zoo, and of course I'll continue to play Planet Zoo on the channel. There's a lot more animals out there that we have not seen, and a lot more building space to take up, and being in Sandbox, unlimited funds to do it with. So that was just a brief overview of how my year was channel-wise. Overall, it's been a really fun year. I really enjoyed 2019. I have no ill will towards 2019, and I'm super excited to see what 2020 has in store. If I could just take a peek at where my channel will be 1 year from now, hopefully I'll be surprised. Hopefully it's not dead. Hopefully people are still enjoying what I put out. Hopefully there's some really cool games coming on the horizon that I can do. Crusader Kings 3 is going to be huge. The states that SCS releases for American Truck Sim are going to be huge. The 2020 racing season with myself and Brandon, it may make some really cool moments. It just depends on how we set up the AI to run. And, you know, racing is unpredictable. It's not over until it's over, and it may come down to the wire once again, like it does in Homestead each year, except this year in Phoenix, which I'm not too excited about given my track performance there. But overall, I'm really looking forward to some fun times with you in 2020. If you've enjoyed my stuff, I ask again, please share with your friends, share with your family, put it out there. Say, hey, this guy's really cool and he needs some help, because I really, really do. I could use all the help I can get. So yeah, like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year 2020, and I will see you over the next 12 months, hopefully with some really cool content to bring to you. Take care.